Charles Morgan, as the former CEO of Acxiom, you saw the rise of big data firsthand. Did you ever think that it would cause the privacy problems that we're seeing right now?
Greg, I was worried about privacy from the very earliest days as we were doing work with the big banks. And the reason I was concerned about privacy initially was not anything to do with protecting consumers or anything else, but I knew that because we were building huge marketing databases for Citibank, Chase Bank, other big Fortune 500 companies, if we ever had a serious privacy problem, guess whose problem it was going to be? Our problem. And so in those early days, we came forth with a lot of concepts, education, and other things to try to get our people to understand how important their role was in protecting the future of our company. I mean, we wanted to protect the consumers, we wanted to protect our customers, but we knew that if we had a major failure, and it turned out, guess what? Guess who some of the worst offenders were? Our customers. They had all this data and they said, wow, we got all this data, we can do this. And we'd say, well, now, maybe that isn't a really good idea.
Well, how'd you make sure you kept the data secure and the data was only used as it was intended for?
Well, a lot of that was education. We used to say, and part of our new employee education process was always spent, we always spent a lot of time on the whole concept of privacy and security is a state of mind. It's how you act every day. It's not rules you follow. It is your attitude towards protecting this important asset, which is customers' data. But we went one step further than that, and that one step further was in 1991, I appointed the first chief privacy officer in the world, Jennifer Barrett, by the way. And she, by the way, is still one of the preeminent chief privacy officers in the world. She literally travels all over the world. She has consulted with the government of China, European Commission. She's on a bunch of commissions, and she has provided a leadership role worldwide to that. But initially, I thought she was going to have about a 2-day-a-week job and still do a regular job. Well, soon she had a staff, and today there are about 4 or 5 people at Acxiom that are actually in that role today.
We keep hearing about database breaches at the government level. Is the government that bad at protecting our privacy, or are the hackers that good? Tell me, is it that hard to play defense against these hackers?
Well, let's look at some of the things that have come out after the Office of Personnel Management Act, and we're slowly dribbling information out that there's not one system you get into. Once you get through a firewall, then you're on the inside. It's kind of like you get inside a warehouse, and all the important stuff inside the warehouse is either not protected or protected very poorly. And that's the attitude of a lot of companies, and particularly government. Example, we just saw an announcement in the papers just released 2 days ago that they've had a 30-day blitz on to try to improve government security, and they now have 2-factor security. In other words, once you get inside, you actually have to use 2 factors, not one. Anybody that has any kind of important data knows you have to have 2 factors. You have to have a name and a password. These guys, once you got inside the government, inside the Office of Personnel Management, you could get, if you get through 1 factor, you get anything, and they did.
It seems as though a lot of the marketers out there have gotten a bad name. Can you talk about database marketing and how it can change its image? Because people are worried about their data, and it just seems that there's a big miscommunication.
Well, there is a big miscommunication. I think the thing that people always say, the most important thing is to educate yourself on, the problems that you might encounter, both with who you do business with and how much data you post about yourself. People post their most intimate details, phone numbers, everything else on Facebook, and then they get all upset. They hear somebody hacked their credit card. I always tell people, hey, don't worry, Greg, your credit cards have already been stolen. Don't worry, they've already been stolen. The fact is they've been stolen, but they may not, the bad guys that is, may not have matched your credit card number up with your name and enough other material or information to really steal your identity. But I say be very aware. Look at your credit card bills. Be sure there's not some funky stuff showing up there. People, I had that happened to me recently. I always said I had a credit card charge, and my assistant said, "Did you charge this thing in Phoenix?" I'm going like, "No." So, you know, those kind of things happen, and it may not be big enough that you notice. People have got to notice, be aware, and educate themselves. Smartphones, for example. You have a flashlight app?
I think I do.
Well, if you have an Android and a flashlight app, that's stealing your phone data.
Interesting.
90% chance it's stealing your phone data.
All right. So, and then finally, you know, once again, with regard to database marketing, so how can they improve their image?
The image of database marketers was terrible, and I was on the board of the Direct Marketing Association. That was one of the bandwagon, along with privacy, it was the image, and we never cracked that code, Greg. Honestly, we never did, because there's so much noise out there, and even though we see a lot of efforts to people talk about their privacy policy, talk about their data use, I think it gets lost in the noise. We have the stories about the Target breach. People confuse breaches with privacy, and it's all a jumble in their head. Very difficult for database marketers to rise above all that and say, "Hey, we're the white hats, we're the good guys." So
Understood. Well, thanks a lot for talking about it.
enjoyed it very much.
And thank you for watching The Street.